Hi, everybody. My name is Lori, and I am a real estate agent under the eXp Realty Brokerage. Today, I want to talk about the costs between renting and buying in the Oklahoma City metro area. Now, I'm going to share my screen. Today, we're going to look at the 73162 metro area in Oklahoma City. Now, I'm picking this because this is actually my zip code and I own a property here. So on this market website, we can see that the 73162 area has a median sold home price of $240,000. So for the rest of this presentation, we're going to talk about what you get for that $240,000, the average price in this zip code. Okay? First, what I did is I took that $240,000 and I put it into a mortgage calculator that you can see here on my screen. I put in the $240,000. I'm going off of the assumption here that we're talking about somebody who's maybe a first-time home buyer, so they don't have a whole 20% to put down on the property. Unless you're VA, typically you're going to put down 3.5%. Now, there are some programs out there where if you qualify, you may be able to get grants and things like that. To help you with no payment down, but we're just going to go with 3.5 for now, and show what that looks like. So we're going to assume a first-time home buyer at 3.5% down. That would make it an $8,400 that you would pay towards the property. And just using an average 7.5, I think that's pretty close to what you could expect to get right about now. And these are just based off of what I know about this area. It would be about $238 a month for taxes, $175 for your homeowner's insurance. And then because you put down 3.5% instead of 20%, if you have an FHA loan, you're going to have to pay a mortgage insurance. Now, again, this does not apply to VA loan. VA loan does not have to pay this mortgage insurance because a VA loan is actually secured by VA, meaning that the VA is in essence vouching for you and the payment on the loan. But mortgage insurance, what that is, if your loan is if your loan is more than 80% of the contract purchase price, if you do not put 20% down, you put anything less than that down, you have to pay an insurance, which basically protects the mortgage company in the event that you default. So it'd be just like buying insurance on your car or this or that. It's an insurance that protects the mortgage company. Once you've paid enough towards your house payments, once you've brought down the principal enough that you now have a 20% equity to cover that house, you can request that that mortgage insurance be removed. Now, all things considered, if you were buying a $240,000 house, 3.5% down, 7.5 interest, your payment is going to run $2,172 a month. Okay. Now, for $2,172 a month, first we're going to go and look at what homes are currently for sale in 73162 that are at that $240,000 mark. Okay. Again, this is just a market website out there. Anybody can go to and see. You can see here, these are the homes that are currently in the ballpark of that, that dollar amount. And as you can see, there's actually quite a few of them. You see this pending right here. That means that there's a contract on it. Somebody is in the process of purchasing that house. So you can see that in this area, that price point is pretty popular, which we just seen. And several of them are pending. But these are the homes in that zip code that are on the market right now at around that $240,000 mark. All right, now what we're going to look at is the rental properties, same zip code, and remember our budget, if you will, was what, almost $2,200 a month. That's what our payment would be. So for houses that are for rent in this zip code, that would run you around that same per month. These are the homes in this area for rent for that amount. So you can see they're pretty comparable as to what's for sale. This one's really nice, $22.95. It's a big house. Okay, so you can see apples to apples here, roughly for the same amount of money per month what you would get, right? All right, so here's what we want to talk about really is the breakdown on what you get, what you're paying for, and does it make sense to buy or rent? Okay, now this is not my spreadsheet. It was provided to us by this Workman Success Systems. It is theirs, it's not mine, but it's very handy and we're going to use it today. And I'm going to show you the different prices and the breakdowns. Okay, so this first line here basically is our tax bracket, and that's your income tax bracket that you pay to the IRS, because that will impact some of the values later on down the line. I'm going with 25%. Somebody getting an FHA loan, they probably don't pay 25% tax. They maybe pay, 10, 15%. I'm just going to use 25% in here. And again, we're using a low margin of a 3% appreciation annually of your home. It really just kind of depends on any kind of updates that you do, as long as you maintain the home in good operating function. There's normal wear and tear, but as long as you keep the house in generally good condition, the value should appreciate over time. And we're just going to use a 3% on this presentation. Again, the $240,000 was the average in this zip code. The down payment was $8,400 for the 3.5%. We've got an estimate of the closing costs. Now, closing costs are not what you put down towards the house. Closing costs include things like inspections and appraisals. There's the title company fees, maybe some other fees from your lender, but those are what goes into this $9,200. So for closing, bringing to the table when you go to close would cost you about $17,664. Again, an estimate. All of these are estimates, okay? And again, I'm just using a monthly rent of $2,172 because that was the amount of what our monthly payment would be for the home. All right. So you've got your annual rent here. This annual renter's insurance, I did look it up. According to Market Watch, I believe it was, they said that the average renter's insurance in Oklahoma City costs about $200 a year. You can see then that makes your monthly payment about $21.89 if you were renting, okay, because it just adds in your renter's insurance. All right, so our mortgage loan amount 231,600, and then the interest, the years, your monthly mortgage payment. This really should just say that this is your PMI. So $3,400 is roughly the property tax for a $240,000 property here. The insurance is about $2,100 a year. This is your mortgage insurance, right? This is again the amount that you're paying because you didn't have a whole 20% down. Now, again, this will only be for those first few years, and then you can request to have that removed. And we use an estimate of just 1% of the purchase price to be your home maintenance, things that, you've got, air filters and whatever, carpet cleaning, things like that, home maintenance on your house, $2,400 for the year. So your whole annual cost of buying is $29,753. You're paying down your loan, you've got less that you owe. You're getting more in value that your home is gaining. Your home is gaining in value. So these two lines here that come out to the 92.56, that is basically where your mortgage is coming down and your home value is going up. So you're gaining 92.56 in this first year. Okay, so now let's talk about the tax breaks that you get when you purchase a home. Um, this first little box here, this is for those people who itemize. Now, some people take standard deductions because it's easier, or really the standard deduction gives them more deduction than itemized. So these two will really kind of depend on how you do your taxes. But remember, at the top of the spreadsheet, I had put 25% is what you're paying in taxes. So these amounts here would change depending on what tax bracket you're in. But this number here is just going off of the 25% tax bracket. Okay. So you would receive 43.52 in interest deductions, the amount you're paying on your interest of your mortgage. You got 850 tax benefit from your property tax, and then you've got $597 for your mortgage insurance. Okay, so that's going to give you $5,200 basically in tax breaks on your taxes at the end of the year. Okay, if you itemize, it's actually going to cost you almost $11,000 more per year to rent than it is to buy. If you do a standard deduction, it actually costs you $57.67, so $5,767,000 more dollars per year to rent than it does to buy. All right, now if let's just take it for instance, maybe this one is 15%, right? 15%. You can see how that changed it to where it's 88.88. Interesting number. See how that changes your taxes a little bit. So the decision on whether or not to rent or purchase a house is obviously going to be different for everyone. Your situation may be different. It could be that you're coming in for a job and you know you're only going to be here. You know, we're close to Tinker. It's very possible that, you know, people get stationed here for 2 years, 4 years, and they're not going to be here for very long. And it may not benefit, you know, you to purchase a house, and maybe renting is your better option. But you know that for you. But in general, you know, when you rent, that's always 100% interest, right? You will never see any return of that amount. So, you know, when you pay a rental payment, you're paying somebody else's mortgage. You're paying for all of those items breakdown that I showed you. And then, of course, they're going to need to actually make some money above that, because they will now be responsible for, you know, any kind of repairs to the property. And of course, nobody goes into work or business with the intention of not making any money. So they've got to make above and beyond what they're already paying in order for it to make sense for them. So that's one of the reasons why you'll see the rental rates are going up so high, is because those homeowners, they've got to recoup the monies that they're putting out. Um, so, you know, of course, if you can get away from renting, you're always better off to purchase. If you can afford the home and you can afford the payment, then, you know, like right now, you saw the amount of homes that are on the market. Once the interest rates start coming down and you've got buyers who are now going, okay, now I'm ready to buy, you're going to be back into a situation where, you know, a seller may have multiple offers on a home and they've got to pick the one that works right for them. And, you know, when interest rates were really low, it was next to impossible for a first-time home buyer to buy a house. They were competing against corporations, or they were competing against investors who, you know, they were able to go out here, have 20% down, secure these loans. Maybe they're going in and buying with cash. It's almost impossible to be a cash buyer in a situation like that because, maybe they can forgo inspections and, they can close quicker. So, in a market like this, I would strongly suggest if you can afford the payments, obviously I would never recommend that anybody, go in and be house poor or in over their heads. That would totally be unethical, and I would never suggest that. But if you can afford a $1,600, $2,000 rent payment, then you can afford to buy a house. Fix your credit, whatever, those kind of things that you need to handle. But you will always, in the long run, 6 years down the road, you will have gained equity and you will be able to sell that property and have, money at the end of the day. So anyway, I hope that this informational video gave you some insight, maybe some things to contemplate and think about, whether you're, considering whether or not you want to rent or whether or not you want to buy. If you're moving to the Oklahoma City metro area, if you're a first-time home buyer, I would love to work with you and, help you look for areas that, maybe make more sense for your budget. Again, I picked this area just because this is where I live and I'm familiar with the values and I'm familiar with the tax rates and stuff like that. But, that's just this area. We can find an area that works for your budget and we can scope that out. So if you're moving to this area, if you're looking to buy, maybe your first house, if you have a house you want to sell and buy another one, I would love to work with you and help you out there. You've got my number. It's in the comments in the description above. You can email me, my website. You can go check out my website and see other things that are for sale here. It's listingwithlori.com. That's Lori is Lorie, so listingwithlori.com. Go check that out there. And you have any questions, feel free to reach out anytime. Thanks for watching.